I think Apple had a very good case against Facebook. Facebook was using a feature on the App Store that's for internal development apps. It's not supposed to be consumer-facing, and it certainly shouldn't have targeted young kids and teenagers. And they were really misusing the Apple platform to try to gather that data from kids. So I think Apple was absolutely right to tell Facebook basically they had lost their credentials.
And Mark, clearly this was Facebook breaking Apple's rules, and that therefore certainly gives legitimacy and grounds to Apple's complaint towards Facebook. In defense of Facebook, Sheryl Sandberg was right in what she said in that soundbite, that the individuals were aware of this. In fact, they were even paid in order to open up their phones for this sort of data mining. She said in that bite we just heard, the people knew they were involved and consented. Is that almost to say that in all these other scandals over the last year, that she's admitting then that the users weren't aware and weren't consenting for the data they were taking off them?
Well, I mean, to be clear, I don't think users were fully aware. The type of personal data that was being tracked by Facebook included location data, included private messages, it included website visits. That's very personal data, and we're talking about consent from minors. So even in this instance, I actually don't agree with Ms. Sandberg that she had adequate consent. But you see, this is part of a larger problem with Facebook, is that oftentimes they collect user data. The users don't fully understand what information they're providing or how it's going to be used, and that leads to growing concerns about privacy among the users, and they don't have an alternative. Which is also important to keep in mind with this company. If you're not happy about Facebook as a social network service, you really don't have many places to go.
I mean, we saw that in the earnings report last night. They have a record number of users, and profits and revenues are doing just fine. The stock is up 11%. Advertisers are not pulling out, Mark. So where does this all go?
Well, I think the advertisers are happy because I think they are, able to target through the Facebook platform, audiences for their products and services. But I think the users are in a very difficult position right now, and I think it's one of the reasons you see increasing focus on the Federal Trade Commission. Because the FTC has had a consent order against Facebook since 2011, that consent order actually does impose some obligations on what the company can do. And the big question that people are asking is, when and will the FTC take action to enforce the consent order?
What's the answer to that?
Well, I think it's going to happen soon. In fact, there was some speculation just a few weeks ago that the FTC was nearing a final decision about the judgment against Facebook. Many people are expecting a record-breaking fine. But I think the more interesting question actually is whether the FTC chooses to take additional actions. The Commission could, for example, spin off WhatsApp and Instagram. Those are actually two components of the company that Mark Zuckerberg announced recently he would like to more tightly integrate on the platform. But of course, many people see that as not only violating the consent order, but also raising concerns about competition and innovation. So the FTC actually has a very interesting opportunity right now with the investigation. There's also, of course, the Cambridge Analytica matter, which was the basis of congressional hearings back in April for the Commission to act. And as I said, I think you would see both a substantial fine and also perhaps some effort to spin off WhatsApp and Instagram.